Ladies and gentlemen, there are battles you can see, and there are battles you cannot. What destroys most people isn't the storm outside, but the darkness inside those closest to them. Sometimes the smile you trust hides a storm you never knew existed. The enemy often hides in familiar faces, and this truth is one of the most difficult lessons to accept in life. When we think of opposition or danger, we usually imagine it coming from outside, from strangers, from critics, or from those who clearly stand against us. But in reality, the most dangerous attacks don't come from the outside, they come from the inside. From those who know our hearts, our weaknesses, and our dreams. This is because the enemy is strategic. He knows that the fastest way to destroy faith, confidence, or peace is not through open confrontation, but through silent infiltration. And the easiest place to infiltrate is within the circle of trust, family, friends, and those we least expect. It is not that these people are always evil or intentionally harmful. Often they become unaware instruments used to sow doubt, fear, or distraction. The enemy works subtly through attitudes, conversations, and emotions. A word of discouragement at the wrong moment, a jealous reaction to your blessing, a sarcastic comment that plants insecurity in your heart. These may not seem demonic on the surface, but spiritually, they can weaken your focus and faith. When people close to you constantly drain your energy, question your calling, or make you feel small, it may be more than just human nature at work. It may be a spiritual tactic designed to pull you away from the path of purpose. The reason the enemy prefers familiar faces is that familiarity breeds access. A stranger's criticism might hurt for a moment, but a friend's doubt can echo in your soul for years. When someone close to you questions your dream, it cuts deeper because it comes wrapped in love, concern, or advice. That's why discernment is crucial. Not everyone who speaks into your life is speaking from a pure source. Some words carry spiritual weight. And if you're not spiritually alert, you might accept poison disguised as care. The Bible teaches that even Peter, one of Jesus' closest disciples, once spoke words inspired by the enemy without realizing it. This shows how easy it is for darkness to operate through good people when they are not spiritually aware. The presence of hidden spiritual opposition doesn't mean you should live in paranoia or mistrust. Instead, it calls for spiritual maturity. When you understand this principle, you stop reacting emotionally and start responding spiritually. You begin to pray for clarity instead of confrontation. You learn to love people, but resist the influence working behind them. And most importantly, you stay anchored in truth so that no matter who the enemy uses, your peace remains unshaken. Recognizing that the enemy can hide in familiar faces is not about suspicion, it's about awareness. It's realizing that the battle is not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual forces that seek to manipulate emotions, words, and relationships. When you carry that awareness, you no longer fear betrayal or confusion. You simply see with discernment and stand firm in light, knowing that even when darkness hides in familiar places, truth always exposes what is hidden. Discernment is greater than emotion because emotions can easily deceive, while discernment reveals truth that feelings cannot see. Emotions are powerful, but they are also unstable. They shift with circumstances, words, and moods. One moment you may feel love, trust, and excitement, and the next disappointment or anger. Emotions reflect the human heart, but discernment reflects the spirit. When a person relies solely on emotion to make judgments about people or situations, they often mistake manipulation for sincerity and confusion for care. But when discernment is active, the heart sees beyond the surface and recognizes the true spirit behind words and actions. Emotions respond to appearance, tone, and familiarity, but discernment reads motives and spiritual atmosphere. Someone can appear kind, speak softly, and smile warmly, yet carry hidden intentions that are harmful. Emotion will say, they seem genuine, but discernment will whisper, something is off. Many people fall into pain, betrayal, or deception because they follow emotional attachment rather than spiritual awareness. The enemy understands the power of emotion and often uses it as a disguise. He doesn't approach with hatred. He comes cloaked in compassion, appearing harmless, trustworthy, even loving. Discernment is the inner alarm that warns when something is not as it seems. True discernment is not born out of suspicion or judgment. It is birthed in prayer, purity, and connection with truth. When your heart is aligned with divine wisdom, you begin to sense the difference between what is right and what only appears right. You can feel peace or disturbance in your spirit long before evidence shows up. That feeling is not emotion, it's discernment. Emotion might be loud, but discernment is quiet. It speaks through a gentle conviction, a moment of discomfort, a sudden awareness that calls for attention. Learning to listen to that inner guidance can save you from years of unnecessary pain and wrong relationships. Discernment is greater than emotion because it teaches patience. Emotion wants instant answers. It reacts quickly, speaks without thinking, and judges too soon. Discernment waits, observes, and listens deeply. Where emotion reacts to offense, discernment looks for the spiritual root behind it. Emotion can say, this person hurt me. But discernment can see, this person is wounded and being used by negativity. That difference determines whether you respond with anger or compassion, revenge or wisdom. When discernment leads, peace follows because it sees beyond the visible into the unseen realm of motives, influences, and purposes. In life, many situations will stir your emotions, but not every emotional reaction deserves your trust. Sometimes the thing that feels right is spiritually wrong, and the thing that feels uncomfortable is divinely right. That is why discernment must lead emotion, not the other way around. When you live by discernment, you stop making decisions from impulse and start walking in clarity. You learn to test every word, weigh every spirit, and recognize what aligns with truth. In a world filled with emotional noise and spiritual blindness, discernment is not just a gift, it is protection. You know them by the atmosphere they bring because every person carries an unseen energy that speaks louder than their words. Every individual who enters your life brings with them a spiritual climate, a presence that either strengthens your peace or steals it. Some people enter a room and your spirit feels lighter, calmer, and more alive. Others walk in and without saying a word, you feel drained, tense, or uneasy. This is not imagination, it is spiritual reality. The atmosphere people carry reveals the condition of their hearts and the influences they host. Words can be faked, gestures can be rehearsed, but the atmosphere cannot lie. It is the invisible fragrance of a person's inner life. When someone carries peace, it radiates naturally. You feel safe sharing your thoughts and encouraged to keep faith. That person might not even talk about God, yet something about them reflects grace and humility. In contrast, when someone carries a spirit of negativity, fear, or jealousy, it clings to the environment like smoke. You might notice how laughter fades, how confusion rises, or how arguments start over small things after their presence. The atmosphere they bring exposes the unseen battle inside them. The enemy uses people whose hearts are open to bitterness or pride to spread heaviness wherever they go, not through visible evil, but through spiritual influence. The atmosphere someone brings often speaks before their mouth opens. You can sense when a person's heart is pure because they bring stillness, not chaos. You can sense when their intentions are dark because everything around them feels unsettled. Discernment allows you to detect this shift even when others can't. It teaches you to listen with your spirit, not your ears. When your peace suddenly disappears for no reason after a conversation, when anxiety rises after certain company, when joy fades though nothing bad happened, that is your inner spirit alerting you that something around you is not right. This awareness doesn't mean judging others. It means guarding your environment. Every believer is called to protect the atmosphere of their life because the wrong atmosphere can kill the right seed. Dreams, faith, and vision grow only in an atmosphere of peace and encouragement. If you constantly surround yourself with people who complain, gossip, or doubt, their atmosphere begins to suffocate your spirit. But when you walk with people who carry faith, prayer, and love, your soul breathes again. That is why it is said, you know them by their fruit. Fruit is not just actions. It is also the energy and presence that follow them. You cannot fake divine peace, and you cannot hide spiritual darkness. Understanding the atmosphere people bring helps you choose your company wisely and stay spiritually balanced. Every relationship either adds to your light or dims it. When you become sensitive to the atmosphere someone carries, you stop depending on appearances and start recognizing truth in the unseen. That awareness keeps your peace intact and your spirit strong, no matter who walks in or out of your life. Prayer and spiritual awareness expose darkness because they awaken the eyes of the spirit to see what the natural eyes cannot. Darkness operates best in ignorance, silence, and distraction. It hides in attitudes, motives, and unseen influences, waiting for moments when people are spiritually asleep. But the moment prayer becomes consistent and awareness grows, light enters the places where darkness has been hiding. Prayer is not just a ritual or a list of requests. It is communication with divine truth, a powerful light that reveals hidden deception. When a person prays sincerely, the spirit becomes sensitive to subtle changes, false intentions, and spiritual traps that would otherwise go unnoticed. Prayer sharpens discernment. It aligns the human heart with divine frequency, allowing the soul to recognize when something or someone is not right. When you stay in prayer, you begin to feel the difference between peace and disturbance, truth and illusion, guidance and manipulation. Many people live surrounded by spiritual confusion because they pray only when in crisis. But when prayer becomes a lifestyle, not an emergency tool, awareness becomes constant. The heart learns to detect darkness not through fear, but through clarity. The spirit becomes like a light in a dark room, making it impossible for hidden negativity to stay undetected. Spiritual awareness is the posture of a watchful soul. It means being alert, not only to the world's noise, but to the unseen movements within relationships, conversations, and environments. When a person is spiritually aware, they notice when peace leaves the room, when words carry heaviness, or when their energy shifts after certain encounters. This awareness is not paranoia, it is protection. Darkness works silently, but awareness interrupts its silence. The more connected you are to prayer, the faster you sense when something is spiritually off. This is why prayerless people often fall easily into deception. They rely on their emotions instead of their spirit. Prayer also purifies the atmosphere. When you pray, you invite divine presence into spaces where darkness once ruled. The energy of prayer changes environments, cleanses minds, and strengthens hearts. Even when you cannot identify the exact source of spiritual pressure, prayer exposes it by disturbing what should not remain hidden. It brings truth to the surface and forces evil influences to flee. Darkness cannot survive where light is constantly shining, and prayer is that light. Every whispered prayer, every moment of quiet worship, every sincere cry of the heart sends spiritual shockwaves that break confusion and reveal truth. Living with spiritual awareness means walking in both humility and authority. It is knowing that the battle is not physical and that prayer is your vision in the unseen. The more you pray, the less darkness can disguise itself around you. You begin to see people, situations, and decisions through spiritual eyes rather than emotional ones. And in that awareness, you walk in peace, not fear, because you understand that the moment you invite divine light through prayer, no darkness can remain hidden. Respond with prayer, not hatred, because hatred feeds the darkness that seeks to destroy your peace, while prayer releases light that restores and protects your soul. When people hurt you, betray you, or speak against you, your natural reaction is to fight back, to defend yourself, or to wish harm upon them. But responding with hatred keeps you trapped in the same spirit that attacked you. It drains your strength, clouds your judgment, and gives power to bitterness. Prayer, on the other hand, lifts the weight of anger and hands it over to divine justice. It keeps your heart pure while letting truth and peace fight on your behalf. Choosing prayer over hatred is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength because it shows that you value peace more than revenge and light more than darkness. Hatred never heals anything. It multiplies pain and blinds you to the lessons hidden in the wound. When you respond with hatred, you become like the one who hurt you, and the enemy wins twice. Once through their action, and again through your reaction. But when you respond with prayer, you stop the cycle. You choose not to let someone else's darkness live inside you. Prayer shifts the battle from human hands to divine power. It reminds you that the fight is not against flesh and blood, but against the unseen forces that use anger, jealousy, and misunderstanding to divide hearts. By praying instead of hating, you refuse to become a tool of the same spirit that tried to harm you. Prayer softens what hatred hardens. It takes the poison out of your spirit and replaces it with peace. When you pray for those who wrong you, you release the heavy emotions that could have consumed you. You begin to see the situation through higher eyes, not as a personal attack, but as an opportunity for spiritual growth. Many times, the people who hurt you are themselves victims of their own pain. Their actions reflect their wounds, not their worth. Prayer allows you to see that truth and respond with compassion instead of vengeance. It doesn't mean accepting abuse or ignoring wrongdoing. It means handling it without letting hatred corrupt your spirit. When you pray, you also protect your blessings. Hatred blocks spiritual flow, but prayer opens it. When you stay angry, your focus shifts from purpose to pain, from progress to resentment. But prayer keeps you aligned with peace, faith, and clarity. It reminds you that forgiveness does not excuse others, it frees you. Every time you choose prayer over hatred, you rise above the situation instead of sinking under it. Responding with prayer is a choice to live in light, no matter how dark the attack. It means you believe that divine justice is greater than human revenge, and that peace is stronger than pride. It is an act of spiritual maturity, a declaration that your spirit will not be polluted by bitterness, and that even when others curse you, your heart will choose to bless, guard your light, and protect your space, because your inner peace, faith, and clarity are the greatest treasures you possess. And they are constantly under attack by distractions, negativity, and spiritual opposition. Your light represents your purpose, your hope, your vision, and the presence of truth within you. It is the glow of your character, the strength of your faith, and the purity of your heart. When that light shines, it inspires others, illuminates dark places, and exposes lies. But because your light carries so much power, it also attracts opposition. Darkness cannot destroy light directly, so it tries to dim it slowly through discouragement, toxic relationships, self-doubt, and spiritual exhaustion. Guarding your light means being intentional about what you allow to touch your spirit, who you allow to influence you, and which environments you choose to dwell in. Every person, conversation, and atmosphere has an impact on your inner state. Some people nurture your light, speaking words that uplift you, reminding you of your value and strengthening your faith. Others drain it, leaving you anxious, discouraged, or confused after being with them. Protecting your space means recognizing these patterns and making wise decisions about your environment. You cannot keep your light bright if you surround yourself with constant negativity, gossip, or spiritual heaviness. Guarding your light is not selfishness, it is stewardship. It is understanding that you have been given something precious and that you are responsible for keeping it pure. Your light also represents your focus. Every great dream or calling requires an atmosphere of faith to grow. If you allow constant noise, distraction, or harmful influences into your space, your vision will weaken and your confidence will fade. Protecting your space allows your soul to breathe and your spirit to stay strong. This may mean setting boundaries, limiting certain conversations, or taking time away from environments that pull you down. It may mean choosing silence and prayer over arguments and proving yourself. When you guard your light, you are not rejecting people, you are rejecting the darkness that tries to reach you through them. Guarding your light also involves being mindful of your thoughts. Darkness does not always come from the outside. Sometimes it begins within, through fear, doubt, or anger. Protecting your space means filling your mind with truth, gratitude, and faith, and refusing to entertain thoughts that dim your joy. It means understanding that your peace is sacred and must not be traded for approval or temporary comfort. Every time you protect your space, you strengthen your inner light. And every time you strengthen your inner light, you create an atmosphere that darkness cannot survive in. Your light becomes not only a shield for yourself, but a beacon for others, drawing them toward hope, clarity, and truth.